Okay, hi guys. I'm Carol, and welcome to my talk. I'm an intern at Shopify working on Shop Ruby. It's a high-performance implementation of the Ruby language. But this talk is about the living situation I ended up with when I moved to Ottawa. This was particularly wild for me because it's actually my first time living away from home. This talk will not actually take 20 minutes, but hopefully there's some interesting stuff in here. So before I get into the working from home part, I'll give you a little tour of my tiny home. I decided to go live there because it saved money, and I had just watched that Netflix documentary about tiny living. It's a pretty cool documentary, though I was fairly concerned as my tiny home wouldn't be like carefully engineered with like automated walls and stuff, like the ones on the show were. But I didn't really have like that many needs for space, and I figured this will be alright. Also, my internship was 4 months, so I figured I might as well live in a tiny place and see what happens. So I'll start with like a little tour. It's a very bad video from when I first moved in. As you can see, there's literally just a bed. That door goes outside. I've got windows. I've got a bathroom, which is, yeah, it's a lot of what I actually need. One of my biggest concerns was having space to exercise because I do a lot of like circus training, so I like to have room. There are obviously a lot of things I could not do, like any running or jumping exercises were out of the question, but I learned to kind of adjust the training, I found new exercises. I fit in that little hallway, and I also came up with like a lot of stretches and exercises that involved either my windowsill or the bed to kind of like use as much space as I could. Rainy weekends, I think, were the hardest part of living in a tiny space because usually I would think, if I'm feeling stuffy on the weekends, I could always sit in a Starbucks or like go for a long walk or even like, hang out at the office. But when it was raining, not so much, like let alone getting an umbrella, like stepping outside was just not quite an option with that little bit of flooding. So I was actually like still completely fine. I still like more or less enjoy those weekends. I found new hobbies. In particular, I tried to make rainbow jello, which is actually harder than you'd think. Unfortunately, I started to make the rainbow jello right before the kind of quarantining thing started happening. So when the quarantine started, I had like no actual food, and my fridge was just full of jello. I had to throw it out when the quarantine started because, well, actual food. In case you guys are wondering, I used the kind of space next to the fridge in my dresser to like eat. It wasn't very ergonomic, but never minded it because really it takes me like 30 minutes to eat, and like I can sit there for 30 minutes. Sometimes I would even like walk and eat at my windowsill, which was, I guess, more healthy or something. A really great feature of this like little sill for eating though is that I never had to get up and get something from the fridge because the fridge was always just right there. But yeah, I also did cook. So I didn't have a proper kitchen, but I did get this like electric pot you could just plug into the wall. I'm gonna play that video again. I don't have an actual table space, so I put it in the windowsill in my bathroom. So it was pretty weird. It obviously weirded me out at first, felt pretty ghetto. But I was actually able to make like some pretty good food, like just boiling it. That was good, I think, primarily because my usual go-to food is like pan food, which is like a lot of oil. And so that got cut out of my diet because I can't really do a lot of oily stuff. So with just boiling stuff, I had like Jello, hot pot, which is just soup and stuff. I had chicken soup, potatoes, and I even made like sandwich fillings and like just had bread. And like in general, I ate pretty well just with a pot and like not a proper kitchen. Another really great thing was that I never had to kind of build the willpower to clean my dishes because I would have to clean my dishes because the only sink I had was a bathroom sink. And so if I wanted to use the bathroom sink later to brush my teeth or whatever, I would have had to do the dishes. So my like entire place was actually just clean all the time. I couldn't leave things on the floor because like the floor was the space I need to walk around to get anywhere. And I joke about this. I don't think I've actually done it, but I never have to worry about like going to the bathroom while the food is cooking and having it burn because the bathroom is right there. So one day, of course, I got this email. It wasn't surprising in the sense where, you saw it coming. It was the reasonable, right thing to do. By the time I got this, like companies in the Bay Area had already started working from home. But I was still like, it still felt like, oh, yikes, especially because we were originally given one date and then it got moved up to like the next day it was moved up to, so I was caught off guard. In particular, I hadn't had the time to properly refurnish my apartment to handle working from home yet. So the first version of my work from home looked like this. I tried balancing my monitor on my bed, and I got pretty good. I could get it to stay up for like an hour or two at a time, but it kept falling on me, so I got fed up after one day and just moved to like a classic lying in bed with a laptop kind of thing. That was fine. I mean, not the most ergonomic, but at least it's comfy. Well, actually, the problem there was actually that I kept falling asleep. In particular, I remember that one Friday, I slept 10 hours because I had nothing else to do and there was no commute time. And then I fell asleep 4 times that day. And I realized this was probably because all the lights in my apartment were like the warmest white. For those of you guys who don't know a lot about lights, like lights typically have 3 colors where like one is like very, very blue, one is like middle, and one's like very yellow. I used to think that the whole lighting can make your workers 5 times more productive thing was like weird voodoo. But as soon as I got like a big lamp that was like really strong blue light and I started opening my windows during the day, I just felt like much better and like just more energized. Eventually, I did furnish my apartment to have like actual work setup things. So I got this desk. I got a pretty small desk, obviously. I thought I could maybe fit my chair, but it was just a bit too small. And I couldn't really put it on the side either because my legs didn't fit underneath that side of the table. But I actually had like a pretty good time just like sitting on my bed and then using my like keyboard and monitor. And it was basically like being in an actual office. Leaning back was kind of annoying, but for the first week or so, I just like lay down and that was my leaning back. Eventually, I got this little floor chair and I highly recommend these floor chairs. They're like great also for watching TV because you can like lean back and rock in them. They were like $70 USD. They're on Amazon Prime. It's a pretty good deal. I really enjoyed it. And so I ended up actually putting that chair on my bed. So it was like I had an actual chair and like a desk, even though there wasn't really room for that. And it was actually more comfortable than that like crappy portable chair. All in all, I was actually just like really happy with the furniture setup. It felt really good. I had like a monitor, keyboard, whatever, and it was pretty good. So obviously there's some bad things. I think one of them was that I'm very fortunate to have a company that feeds me. And of course, being home alone and not being the greatest cook, I often forgot to eat. I think I was pretty good at remembering to eat breakfast, but also because I take ADHD medication, I often forget to eat lunch, and then I would start to like feel physically tired before I would actually remind myself to eat again. I would eat weird things. So when I cooked properly, it was usually okay. But like once in a while, I realized I was hungry too late and I didn't feel like ordering or cooking, and I ended up just like eating cookies or Jello. I also went outside a lot less than I should. Obviously, you shouldn't go outside and like go group hugging and stuff. But I think it's pretty reasonable and people should go outside, and they do, just for like a 5-minute, 20-minute walk and just avoid people. And I think that would have been really, really helpful. And I really hated myself for not going outside. It just, like, it was this really weird feeling of like, I wanted to, I know I would enjoy it and it would be so easy to go outside, but like just that environment, I couldn't get myself to. Another weird thing I did was exercise too much because, you know, when I was done working, there wasn't like a walk home or anything social to do or anything else to do really. And so I would just like sit down for 2 hours and like exercise. And then this combined with some general effect of not seeing too much of the world and just seeing the same like 300-ish square feet, probably less of space, was like really driving me insane. I remember I didn't really realize how bad it was because obviously everyone has problems working from home. But one morning I woke up and I was like extremely nauseous and I was like, oh crap, I probably cooked something or made something wrong. And then I tried to go to the bathroom and then I passed out on my toilet. And then my head was just ringing, and I had a headache, and I wasn't actually like sick with anything. It was just like some general exhaustion and stress that kind of got to me. It went away like in a few hours, and I like never felt anything ever again after that. But I think this also kind of clears up a thing where I do think there's some like voodoo with your mental state and your body being able to respond to that. I think that like sickness was probably an effect of like the weird lifestyle I was living in that tiny place. So takeaways are that you probably do need less space than you think you do. I would like to establish that like I lived in that tiny space for 2 months. I like loved it. It was really, really cozy. I always felt really relaxed and like just, it was like a good, cozy place. So before the work from home, it was extremely good. Lighting does actually affect you. I think that's one that people might miss out on, and it is actually just really important. So doing things you want, even when they're easy, is harder. So I think that one I don't really have any good advice of how to get around, but I think something that at least worked for me was that, like setting rules and actually like keeping those rules. It feels like you're dragged, but I think that actually does help. It probably also takes some time. And yeah, it's also important to do because I think your like mental health can reflect physically and all that voodoo. And yeah, so guys, stay inside, stay safe. So to conclude, I have this like nice obligatory end of conference talk stuff. Starting with Shopify hiring. You can go on shopify.com/careers. Sorry, I have the .ca there. .ca works too. We're currently hiring across Canada, remote, and San Francisco. I think San Francisco jobs are mostly mobile developer roles. I have another link in there. You can also search for it if you don't feel like copying the link. It's a show us your code application. So instead of submitting like a resume or like getting a referral or whatever, you can just like send a code snippet, and that'll like that you wrote, of course, and that'll be the basis for the review of your application for the job, which I think is pretty cool, especially to kind of get around that like cyclic dependency of I want jobs. You need experience, but to get experience, you need a job. If you ever want to talk to me about my work or small spaces, you can email me. And thanks for tuning in, and stay safe, guys.